Are you a green card holder? Are you planning to travel outside the United States this year? Well, hold on just a second, because what I'm about to share with you could directly impact your ability to return to the US, even if you've been living here for years. Yes, you heard that right. New rules are in motion. And with Trump making moves again in 2025, things are getting more complicated, more political, and frankly, more uncertain than ever for lawful permanent residents. Picture this. You've saved up for months to visit family overseas. You book your flight, pack your bags, and say goodbye to your home in the US, only to arrive at the airport a few weeks later and be told, you can't board your return flight. Or worse, you land back in the US only to be held at immigration, questioned for hours, and told your reentry is being reviewed under new Trump-era policies. This isn't just a bad dream, it's becoming a real concern, and it's happening to people just like you. So what's going on? Why is this happening now? And what do the new USCIS and CBP enforcement policies actually say? We've gone through the documents, listened to legal experts, and followed the recent government briefings to bring you a clear, honest explanation of what these travel changes mean, what's behind them, and most importantly, how you can protect your status and your family. Stay with me, because this video could very well be the difference between smooth travel and a nightmare at the border. I'll also explain what rights you still have and what steps you need to take now to stay compliant. If you're serious about staying informed and keeping your immigration status safe, then do me a favor. Smash that like button right now. It helps this information reach more people who desperately need it. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss a single second of what's coming next. Now, let's break down exactly what's happening and what it means for every green card holder watching right now. Over the last few weeks, immigration attorneys and advocacy groups have been sounding the alarm. Why? Because under the renewed influence of Donald Trump, and with support from hardline immigration voices in Congress, several key changes have just been quietly introduced at both the Department of Homeland Security and the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, changes that directly affect how green card holders travel internationally. The biggest shift centers around what's being referred to as the presumptive abandonment policy. This policy isn't entirely new, but it's being revived and reinterpreted more aggressively. Under the current directive, if a lawful permanent resident spends more than 180 days, or in some cases even less, outside the U.S., immigration officers now have greater discretion to determine that you may have abandoned your residency. That means your green card status could be challenged, and in some cases, even revoked, especially if you're unable to clearly prove your ties to the U.S. upon reentry. That could include your job, your home, your tax records, and your family situation. But here's the thing, it's not just about how long you're gone. It's now also about your intent, which is much harder to prove. This is especially frightening because it opens the door to subjective decisions at ports of entry. Imagine being judged not by your years of lawful residence, not by your clean record, but by the assumptions of a single immigration officer who doesn't know you and has orders to be stricter. For thousands of green card holders who travel regularly for work, for medical reasons, or to care for elderly parents abroad, this is terrifying. What's driving this policy push? It's politics, plain and simple. With Trump eyeing a powerful second term and trying to reinforce his immigration first agenda, he's reshaping the way agencies enforce travel and residency laws. And he's doing it under the radar, using administrative memos and agency-level shifts instead of headline-grabbing executive orders. It's a smarter strategy this time, and that makes it even more dangerous, because it's happening quietly, without the same public scrutiny. We're also seeing a rise in what's known as secondary inspection holds. This means more green card holders are being pulled aside when re-entering the U.S., forced to undergo hours of questioning about their employment, overseas travel, political views, and even social media activity. Some are being asked to voluntarily surrender their green cards under the pressure of being told they violated their residency status. And let's be honest, if English isn't your first language, if you're tired after a long flight, or if you don't know your rights, it's all too easy to panic and make a mistake that could haunt you for years. But let's talk facts for a moment. The green card itself, the physical card, is only evidence of your lawful permanent resident status. It's not a guarantee that status can't be questioned. If an immigration officer decides you've abandoned your residency, they can issue a notice to appear in immigration court, starting a legal process that can cost thousands in legal fees and take months or even years to resolve. All because of a trip overseas. A trip that, under past administrations, wouldn't have raised any red flags at all. So what can you do to protect yourself? First and foremost, if you must travel, keep documentation that clearly shows you never intended to abandon your U.S. residence. That includes recent tax filings, proof of employment, utility bills, lease agreements or mortgage statements, and a return ticket. You need to show that your ties to the U.S. are strong and ongoing. If you're going to be away for an extended period, more than 6 months, consider applying for a re-entry permit. It's not a silver bullet, but it provides additional protection and signals to USCIS that you plan to return and maintain your status. And here's something many green card holders still don't realize. If you plan to naturalize and become a U.S. citizen someday, extended trips abroad can impact your eligibility. USCIS tracks your time spent outside the country, and if you're gone for long stretches, you may have to start your residency clock all over again. That's right. Years of waiting could go to waste if your travel history suggests you've been living abroad more than you've been living in the U.S. The emotional toll this takes on families is immense. I've spoken to people who haven't seen their parents in years, terrified that if they leave, they won't be let back in. Imagine a mother who just gave birth abroad, trying to return to her job and life in the U.S., only to face interrogation and risk her permanent resident status. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. They're real, and they're happening more and more in this new climate of suspicion. The fear isn't just about policy, it's about the feeling of being unwanted. Many green card holders have spent decades in the U.S. They've built businesses, raised families, paid taxes, and contributed to their communities. Yet with each policy shift, they're reminded that they're still at risk, still waiting in line, still not fully accepted. It's this feeling of living in limbo that keeps so many immigrants up at night. Let me also address those who think this won't affect them because they haven't traveled recently. The truth is, policy changes often come with retroactive enforcement. That means if your travel record shows long absences in the past, you could still face issues at your next renewal, adjustment of status, or naturalization interview. That's why it's essential to prepare now, not after something goes wrong. And here's the final thing I'll say. Knowledge is your greatest protection. These new travel rules and USCIS policies are complex, but they're not unbeatable. If you stay informed, if you document your ties to the U.S., and if you consult an immigration attorney before taking long trips, you'll be in a much stronger position to defend your status. Remember, this is your life, your family, your future. Don't leave it to chance.